Today I have a pleasure to be with you regarding the panel about very important things, which are electronic identification and the changes that we will have in this area in Poland, but also in the European Union in the forthcoming months and years, I think. So I would like to introduce my panelists. So the first is Heinrich Grave, he's from ID Now, Artur Miękina from ASECO Data Systems, and Krzysztof Biernacki from Digital Gateways. And we saw the presentation of Michał Tabor, who is my colleague from Obserwatorium.biz, and he shown to us what are the main functionalities which are planned to be implemented in European digital wallet. So let's ask a first question to our panelist, Heinrich. What do you think? What will be the main challenges? What will be the chances which will bring us by this new European identity wallet for the whole identification market in the Europe, in Germany, in the market on which you are, but also on the Europe at all?
Yeah, thank you very much, Miloš. Hello, my name is Heinrich Grave. I joined ID Now last year. ID Now is one of Europe's leading identity providers with operations across Europe, but mainly in Germany and France. And I've taken on the responsibility to basically build a business proposition in the digital identity wallet, so stored identities, and we're in the currently launching with some of our launch partners the new product. This whole thing is in the context of the regulatory process that Michael was talking about. So the European identity wallet promises to serve a large number of use cases across Europe. It's a huge, ambitious project because it drives harmonization, it enables interoperability, and overall fosters digitization. And we expect this framework to be applicable to all sectors, so both the public as well as the private market. In order to make it successful, there are really two things that need to happen. One is it needs to be accepted by regulators, and it needs to be adopted by users. In the context of regulatory acceptance, there are currently discussions happening with member states, between the member states in Europe, and member states have a very different starting point. Some countries have already built out wallets, like Poland, like Belgium, like the Nordics, and there are other countries that don't, like Germany. And these countries need to come together to define either one solution or interoperable ways of connecting different solutions. That is what is happening. We believe it's a huge potential. There is definitely room for a pan-European solution or multiple solutions, but it'll depend on specifically on how the regulatory process will proceed.
Okay, thank you for that. So maybe, Krzysztof, I will ask you about the conditions. What are the main conditions you think such a wallet can, what are the conditions of the success of such a European wallet? Yes, in the former day we had a presentation for our Secretary of the State of Digitalization, yes, Mr. Janusz Cieszyński, who was able to show us the roadmap of development of our Polish digital wallet. But do you think that what are the conditions of the success, not only Polish wallet, but also some maybe commercial wallets? Is there room for such a products also in our market and the European market?
Thank you for the invite and for the question. From my perspective, what we observed recently, that the path that the eIDAS 2 is going and how it's evolving, it's a bit similar to the process of the before directive that was PSD2. Even the names of the directives and the regulations is like PSD2 1, 2, and EDAS 1 and 2. In order to make it successful, I think there are several elements. I would say the first of them, it's the customer. The focus on the usability and the customer, because really the current process, for example, in the trust service, when we are issuing the digital signatures, sometimes there is also a possibility to improve that. So if we are able to make the wallets very convenient for the customers, like Heinrich mentioned, the key element of this process is reusability, because in fact you are repeating the process of identity verification several times. Imagine that you are doing this process in your bank, in your insurance company, in the telco company. Every time you are doing the same process again. And if we are able to make it reusable, and that's I think the perspective of the regulation, to make it really useful, this would be for sure the success. The second element that came to my mind when thinking about the success of such initiative, it's really a competitiveness. It cannot be like one solution that it's like ruled by the external entity and everybody has to use it. I think there is a key element of wallets, identity wallets, is its openness and competitiveness. So I think there is a space for commercial wallets, but also the national wallets, and everything has to be, really open. So I would say that these two elements are the most important.
So as I understand, we can see the room also for the commercial and for the national, but also maybe the cooperation between them during the business processes.
Maybe there is a space even for like the root process that would join both verifications, national and commercial, and imagine that we can join it like cross-European wise, or even I have some friends in the US that they are asking me how come that there is no possibility to have the verification of the Europeans in the US, so maybe we can expand it from European Union to the worldwide. It's a possibility.
And what about wallets implemented in the mobile banking application? Is it a good idea from your perspective? Mobile banking is very, let's say, popular and let's say high developed in Poland.
Of course, I don't know the situation in Germany, but at least in Poland, lots of identity projects are happening in the cooperation with the banks. We have a project for identity verification like Moje ID from Polish Clearing House. We have another project, and banks are involved. So everything that is possible to join more openly different entities to connect it through possibly through widgets or any other ways, like possible ways. It's for sure a good initiative, and we are also carefully looking on that.
Thank you for that. Artur, you represent the QTSP as a provider of trust services, electronic signature and other trust services. What are the synergies, or what are the possible synergies between these two areas? Yes, identity wallets and electronic signature. Is it a way for every Pole to have an electronic signature? Something that we are talking for 20 years about this. Is it this moment?
Even more, I think. Even more, but well, thank you for this question. Identification and trust services are the parallel words, yeah, but they refer to each other, and we have to remember. Let's come back to the history a little bit, because the electronic identification itself was mentioned in EIDAS regulation since, I don't know, 5 years ago, yeah? So And what happened? Almost nothing, yeah? Why? Because there are two things. First of all, private sector not was involved in that project. And second one, it's not mandatory. Sorry to say that, but if something is not mandatory, the situation is that right now you have countries, member states, and they don't even have one notified electronic scheme. So if we rely on the good identification, for example, to issue trust services, is a crucial point. We have to remember that identification, for example, the bank identification and identification, for example, for issuing qualified certificate, it's different responsibility. Yeah? This is different idea, different obligation. And if we are talking about the digital wallet, if will be, let's say, used by the citizens, and the identification will be in the specific, let's say, substantial level or the high level, it will be easy to issue different services like a certificate, like the electronic signatures, especially the qualified one. But I think that not the tool are more important. As my colleague said, the process. Yeah, we don't have to focus if we are using the simple advanced and the qualified certificate. We are trying to focus on the need. Yeah, they should take care about the need of the citizens, not on the tool, not on the signature. Yeah, this is the end of the process.
So thank you for this point, and I would like also to transfer now our discussion from, let's say, a regular or rather technical point of view into the customer and processes perspective. So Heinrich, you told me about some interesting cases of usage of such a wallet. Do you want to share us with some of this idea to show the to the audience how we can utilize how we can think about utilization of digital wallets?
Yeah, thank you very much, Milos. We are in the process of discussing many use cases with our clients at the moment, and it's really surprising how what user journeys will be enabled by a digital identity wallet in the future. So the combination of storing an identity, of storing additional credentials, of giving you a means of authentication and the ability to provide signatures and authorize transactions all out of the same app is very powerful. And let me maybe discuss one example that I found very appealing. It's in the mobility space. If you today rent a car, you need to always check in at the counter at the airport, and that process in the future will be completely digital or enabled by a wallet, because you can basically identify yourself, you can show your digital mobile driver's license, you are able to sign an insurance policy and make a payment transaction, all in the same user flow, very, very easily enabled by a digital identity wallet. And what you then get back as a result is the digital key for the car. So you can basically make the check-in process wherever, and that basically frees also the rental company from having to store cars as a specific place. They can be anywhere. And the next step will be that this is actually a system that you can even open to sharing economy models where the lender or the rental company is actually not a company, it's private persons that can open their car to such a sharing scheme, because you have all the elements there that are required to basically provide a safe car rental. So there will be actually new business model enabled by user journey that are only able to be built using digital identity wallets.
Thank you for this, I think, very interesting example. Also, I think thinking about, let's say, a digital wallet, we should think about on-site processes, about online processes. Yes, not only about online, because I think for years we focused on this side. But again, let's think about privacy, because I don't know if you see some protesters before our conference, yes, with white and red flag, some bad words about Harari and so on. So as and also I can say that also on our Observatorium.biz social media profile in Facebook, there was some discussion about the wallet, about the digital wallet. Is it a tool of control the society or citizens? Yes, it's a hard discussion, but I think we have to be open also for such issues. What do you think about the privacy according to the digital wallets?
Miłosz, I think you are touching very important element of this whole project. For me, it's like I mentioned in my first answer to your question. The key is comfort of the customer, the UX, how the customer is feeling with this process. And there is a solution for this, because if we are able to prepare the technical side of such wallets in a way that the customer would be owning the data on the wallet. Imagine the data that Heinrich mentioned. Imagine the data that the customer puts on the wallet. We were talking about interesting example. For example, the tickets for Euro championships or any other personal data. And you are personally owned this data, so it's your own device. This would be a key for convincing the people to use the wallet. Of course, like I mentioned before, I think there should be alternative, because the people has to have the freedom of choice. Maybe they would like to use different process, maybe commercial solution with different elements of the security, especially. This should be possible, and yeah.
Artur, what do you think about this? So you are from the
First of
very
all,
secure company.
Yeah, because I'm a sales guy, yeah, so I talk a lot with the clients, not only the clients, but I have some doubts sometimes, because the awareness of using the identity is sometimes on the bad level. We share it on, I don't know, on the Facebook, on different portals, without any, let's say, doubts, yeah? What we should do to prepare the global campaign about the wallet, marketing campaign, because people are afraid of using, let's say, digital solution. They ask me, for example, if the digital wallet replaced the national ID. Yeah? We know that there are parallel wallets, yeah, but we have to explain. We know that they are afraid, but this our role, the experts, the market, to provide information about it, that everything is done in a good way. So this is my perspective, that to push on the, let's say, to explain everything in the details.
Heinrich, in Germany, you know that you are, as a country, very focused on privacy area. Yes, we know this interesting case that in German we talk about this. There is no national ID like PESEL in Poland. Yes, there is no such a number, but we know that it is. Let's say some companies are using it in other way. What do you think about this from German perspective, but also from European perspective, about this wallet versus policy issues?
Thank you. Yeah, the way that I see the German situation is that we are quite strict in comparison to other countries. So the preferred solution that is being proposed by the regulators is a very, very high security standard, and typically high security standard. There is a correlation between user adoptability, usability, and security level. And I personally sometimes wish that we would differentiate maybe a little bit more there, because I believe, as AI does also foresees, is that there are different level of assurance, different use cases require different security levels, and and that is mainly related to the technology that is being used. It's not about the ownership of the data, which will be always on the device. So it's much better than what we have at the moment, where you have centrally stored personal information data. But I think that the solution should be really that you would be able to store identities of different level of assurances in the wallet that will be usable for different use cases. So meaning when you're for example logging in for your tax reclaims with the public sector, there should be a very high security standard, and that might involve you having to enter 2 pins and some additional security features. Whereas when you maybe have an age verification because you want to buy alcohol or something, that doesn't necessarily require the same level of assurance, and that differentiation, I think, is a key to making to achieving a large user adoption of wallets, because it's technologically it's possible to store a different level identities that have been created at different level of assurance.
Okay, so maybe the last question for all of you. Please be very strict because we don't have a lot of time. But what do you think about, what is your attitude to business model? So how such a company like you would like to make a business from wallets?
I think we should continue the business perspective. So we are acting in the B2B models. So I think we should be still having the small proportion of the fee for each verification, because if everything goes in the free of charge model, it can lower the quality of the service and the process of the UX, the convenience for the customers. Everything, has to be supported by the business.
Well, in my opinion, the digital wallet can be a trigger for the trust services. Yeah, from my perspective, trust services is, let's say, a key point. But it should be provided in an easy way, as easy as possible. And then I think that it is a chance for success.
I think that digital identity wallets can be monetized wherever they create value for the end customer, which is typically the relying party that uses it either as a means of verifying an identity or restricting access to services or authorizing transactions. So whenever that creates value, measurable value, it can be monetized. And the roles, there will be an open ecosystem of different roles, identity providers, wallet providers, QTSPs, and so on.
Attributes.
Yeah. And they will all play together and in the end distribute what can be monetized. So in the end, I think the important thing is to look at value that is created for end users.
Thank you for that discussion. Thank you for your voices. I think it's not the last discussion about the digital wallets and electronic identification at all. At the last sentence, I would like all of you to invite you to our site, Observatorium.biz, Observatorium.biz, where you can find and download for free report about our guidebook about the digital wallet in Europe. Thank you very much.